So the Packers at Vikings game might be the best game of the entire day. The spread's set at only half a point in favor of the Packers, and at that point I just don't understand why not just make it a pick'em game, right? There's no difference. If the Packers win by 1 point, the Packers cover, and if the Vikings win by 1 point, the Vikings cover. That's how pick'em games work. It just depends on who wins. It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Gosh, I don't understand why this isn't a pick'em game, but you look at the Packers. Packers have some key injuries that a lot of people are forgetting. Most people just think, oh, the Packers are really good because they're the Packers. Yeah, they're the Packers, and they are really good. But they are going to be without Aaron Jones for this game, and that's huge, especially considering Kylan Hill, the guy they drafted in the 7th round, tore his ACL early in the year, who's also a running back, by the way, and he would have likely stepped into that number 2 role with A.J. Dillon at 1. So now A.J. Dillon's at 1, and a guy they just signed off the practice squad is at 2. He's the 2 back, which is not ideal if you're the Packers. Again, A.J. Dillon probably just needs to hold down the fort until Aaron Jones comes back so you can have that lethal duo. But still, for this game, you don't have a good number 2 option now with A.J. Dillon stepping into the 1 option. Another thing you have to worry about if you're the Packers is you are without Allen Lazard. Now, I understand you still have many other options. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is back. You still have Randall Cobb. And really, what's his name? Amari Rodgers is coming. He's getting better. But the Packers are still without Allen Lazard, and Allen Lazard has kind of become a go-to target for Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers has obviously been able to survive not having Allen Lazard. He'll be able to have Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Randall Cobb, and he won against the Cardinals a couple weeks ago without any of these guys. With only Randall Cobb. And then you had Equanimeous St. Brown. You had some guys who've never caught the football in the NFL before. It was really bad. But they were able to win that game. And you also have some pretty important players on defense out for this game. You obviously lost Whitney Merciless last week for the entire season. He was a big free agency ad in the middle of the season who was turning out to be great and helpful since Preston Smith had got hurt. Now you're without both of them. You could also be without, but now Preston Smith is back. So, I mean, arguably that's better. It's good, though. But you could also be without for this game Rashawn Gary and Zadarius Smith, which would put you at a bad spot at the other outside linebacker position for the Packers. You also could be without Kingsley Keke, who has been one of their better pass rushers this year. And obviously you're still without Jair Alexander in this game. And obviously they've been able to survive without Jair, but it's obviously not been perfect. Now, the Vikes, on the other hand, have not had that many injuries. The only sizable injury that I can really bring up that I think is notable is Rashad Breeland might not play in this game. He's the number 1 or number 2 corner for them. I don't really know because I haven't been watching the Vikes all year, but he's been an important player for them regardless. He has been a player that they kind of need. Their corner depth is not really all that great. But that's the only injury, really. You get Dalvin Cook back from injury. Your receiving core is, knock on wood, really not had that many injuries. The only injury you really had on offense that is still around is your Irv Smith Jr. got out for the season before the season even started. But Tyler Conklin has arguably been better in that role than Irv Smith would have. He has been phenomenal. So I don't know how much the Vikes offense is really hurting from injuries. It really doesn't seem like it. And honestly, I like the Vikings here. I really do. I think the Vikings are one of those teams that they're 4-5, but they're not like a 4-5 team like the Niners are, where they've gotten crushed and they really didn't deserve to win. Nah, the Vikes have really been in every game they've lost and arguably should have won. So, sorry. If the Vikes could not fumble the ball, they would have beaten the Bengals. If the Vikes could make a field goal, they would have beaten the Cardinals. If the Vikes, I'm trying to think of the other losses. Dang it, none of them are talking off the top of my head, but all the games, I believe, were under 7-point ball games that they ended up losing. They're Browns game was only by 5 points. So, I mean, the Vikes are a good football team. They really are, guys. And if I had to pick the team I think is going to make the 7th seed, it would be the Minnesota Vikings, simply because they are actually consistently good. They are a consistently good football team, which is not something I really expected. I expected a team that would be a little bit more inconsistent, but obviously they haven't had the closing speed. That's something the Packers have been really good at, is closing football games. Now, they almost blew one against the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. If A.J. Green just doesn't forget that he's a wide receiver, actually runs a reasonable route, they probably win that football game. But I think this is the Vikes game to win. Give me the Vikes in this basically pick 'em game.